Have you ever heard of Thomas the Tank Engine? Well, if you've been around little kids between the ages of 2 and around 7 or so, I'm sure you have. My son adored Thomas so much that he could name every single train, knew what color they were, and by what number they had painted on them. I was glad when I heard that he was coming to visit me over the summer, as I had a ton of work to do, so I brought and bought him a Thomas DVD. The cover looked innocent enough, and it was also interesting, as it was called and was smiling. The DVD was about Thomas, smiling as the wooden children were waving out of their arms and windows of the coaches. The DVD was called Thomas and the Children. He was so excited to see the DVD that right off the bat, he pleaded me to pop it into the DVD player. I went to work while he watched it. After a few hours, he came to my office, looking as pale as a sheet. "Daddy," his voice seemed weak. "Are you okay?" I said. I touched his forehead and realized his temperature had gone up. "Why did Thomas kill the children?" My heart sank into stone, but I brushed it off. "I'm sure Thomas didn't kill the children," I reassured him. "Now you need your rest and some medicine." I gently pushed him towards his room. "Come on now." After putting him to bed, I got curious as to what he had seen. I popped the DVD and began to watch the episode play. It seemed normal enough. Thomas was told to take the children to the seaside by the instructions that Sir Topham Hatt said. I noticed something odd though. There was no narrator in the episode. It then showed Thomas picking up the little wooden children, showed every single of them about to climb on board. Then there was a scene with him zooming in the rails, like he always did, and the kids were cheering. But then there was trouble, as they would say in the show. Bertie the bus got stuck on the railway track. This went on when the episode got strange. Bertie stared at Thomas in fear, but Thomas just smiled and sped up. The kids laughed while they were tears coming. He laughed while the kids were crying with tears coming down their wooden faces. Thomas crashed into Bertie, causing pieces of them to go flying everywhere. Eventually, by now, the narrator would say, and luckily no one was hurt. But there was no reassurance of the kids. The episode showed somewhat of what happened inside the coaches. There were wooden limbs that were broken off and what looked like actual blood splattered everywhere. Their bodies of the wooden dolls were all mangled all the place. And what was worse, the children still had tears painted on their faces. Then it cut to static, and after I felt myself boiling over with anger. What sicko would create something so messed up for little kids? I then paused the static, and the messages began to appear the screen like kill, obey, multiply, and die. I watched the static and I saw for at least 30 seconds of the images flash on the screen. I knew that it cursed thing in the trash after breaking it in half. I would not expose my child into what of this trash, not before going to bed. I checked my son's room, and he was happily asleep, snoring and clutching his teddy. I had nightmares from where the children came into my room, and they were lifelike, just as tall as a normal person, with the twisted forms and grabbed by limbs that pulled me apart, while I heard the blasted train laughing. Now I have woken up. I heard my doorbell ring, and I found my trackmaster, Thomas, mistoyed that he ever had children painted on them. And that, my little pretties, was Thomas and the Children, a Thomas the Tank Engine Lost episode creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story. This story, in my opinion, was cliched. Like, this story of its own self was just cliched as cliched can honestly get. And the reason why it's cliched is because, well, of stuff that was, mentioned, like hyperrealistic blood and the DVD and, everything about this episode that was displayed. It kind of didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And this story actually was a creepypasta that was narrated from a few people, actually. I noticed a few narrations of the story. I remember Mr. Nightmare somewhat narrated this. I saw Spidey Pasta sat there and narrated this story. And, to be honest, I remember I first heard of this story from Andal, because Andal narrated this story, and I just had to, have a look at this story, and I was not a fan of this. Back then, when I did narrate this, I think in 2019, I kind of liked it. But now my opinion unfortunately changed. This story wasn't really great. I'm just being completely honest. The story was not that great. Like, when I saw this story, I didn't really care for this one. Like, I'm not gonna, bash the author too much or anything like that. The grammar of this story was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The grammar was really good for what it was. It actually had a good, grammar in this story. The grammar was pretty good. That's one thing I can definitely say is that it was pretty good. Pretty good grammar is what I'm trying to say. The grammar was pretty good. But the story itself just wasn't that great. Like, the whole concept of, Thomas sitting there killing the children and all that, and oh my god, I honestly don't know why. I obviously just don't know why, the story had to go, such a cliche territory. Like, there was absolutely no reason, why Thomas would sit there and, just keep running into Birdie when he got stuck. He could have, I don't know. I just really didn't really like this story that much is because of that. But, I'm not trying to, bash the author or anything like that. The grammar was good of this story. That's something I'm going to say is that the grammar is pretty good and pretty good. I'm not going to lie. But it's just wasn't really a fan of the story. That's my main reason why I kind of was shaking my head. Like, when I first narrated this, I liked it, but now going out of my way and while narrating this for a second time, I could understand why, some people really don't like this story. It's just because it's cliched. That's just one of the reasons why I didn't really care for this story is that it's just cliched. Now, if the cliches were removed from the story or something like that, then maybe the story would be slightly better. Maybe have an explanation as to why Thomas has to sit there and, I'll just, running into Birdie, like, I don't know. This story just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, I know some creepypastas don't tend to make a whole lot of sense, but that's just probably just me, though. Like, but that's just probably me. I'm not sure who the original author is, as I can't find who the original author is, so I'm gonna sit here and just leave it anonymous for now. If I do find out who the original author is, I'll be sure to give, him or her proper credit. Like, this story did have potential with it, but with all due sincerity, it just didn't, like, it just went down the, a normal Lost episode route that has cliche madness or anything like that. Like, that's just the only problem I have. That's the main problem I have, and that just kind of is a downfall with me. So, I'm definitely saying that this, story, obviously, it was pretty good for what it is. Like, well, not good for what it is. Like, the grammar was good, I'm not gonna lie. The grammar was actually pretty good in this story, but overall, the rest of it was just not that great. It was just not that great. That's the only thing I'm gonna sit here and say, is that it's just not that great. Like, I wish the story could be maybe better and improve. Maybe that way it would be an easier, would be at least a little bit more understandable, so to speak. Like, I'm not trying to sound rude or anything, but I just really didn't care for this story. This story is actually one of those stories that, I honestly really didn't care. Well, and it's not that I did care, but it's just one of the stories that it did have some potential, but it needs improvement. That's all I'm just gonna say. Like, it just needs improvement. But anyways, I guess maybe that's kind of all I have to say. So I'm gonna have to, kind of basically wrap up the review because, well, yeah. Anyways, with that being the case and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these, creepypastas. This is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story has to be I'm gonna give this one a 1 out of 10. I'm only giving this a 1 out of 10 is because the grammar was good, but the rest of the story just wasn't that great. But I just didn't really care for the rest of the story. That's just all I have to really say. So I definitely have to say that this story, it just wasn't great. That's just all I have to say. But the only thing I could definitely say was good was the grammar. The grammar was good, but everything else was just not that great. The sentence structure was good as well, but the rest of the story just fell completely flat. And that's unfortunately very disappointing. Like, that's just very flat out disappointing. But the rest of the story, it does need to be improved. Like, you know, I could suggest another thing what could be better to have this story better is if the story were to, well, complete rewrite. Like, a rewrite of the story would be maybe a little bit more better. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Okay, I guess I kind of explained, you know, this story, and now I can understand why a lot of people really didn't care for the story. I can understand why Shadow didn't really care for the story either, so, yeah. Anyways, with that being the case, with that being said, what did you guys think about this, creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm